Hey guys, it's Faye from Solarflow and I am back with a new video. Today's topic is Ask Me Anything. It's your guys' burning questions and my channeled information as answers. So if this sounds good, please stick around, and if not, I'll catch you at another video. So first and foremost, as I say with all of the AMAs, that if you have asked me a question and it is not answered herein, it does not mean that I am not going to get to it. Look at it like a door. Sometimes I go up to a door and the door is unlocked and I can walk easily in. And sometimes a door is locked. Maybe the inhabitants of the house inside are taking a nap, or maybe they're in the bathroom, or maybe they're just preparing dinner and they don't have a free minute to hop away and open the door. So I may stand there for a while and knock and ask to be let in. Frankly, if a door doesn't open at the time that I'm at it, I just move on. Because first and foremost, these are all of the things that you guys have asked me to channel. So there was a lot of stuff to get through here, and I didn't just kind of want to stand around waiting to be let into one particular door. So if the door did not open freely in that time and in that space, I just move on. Does it mean I'm not going to ever answer the question? No. I put a check mark next to everything that's channeled, and if there is no check mark, it gets carried over automatically to the next Ask Me Anything, wherein at that time I will attempt to channel the information again. So please again understand, if I haven't gotten to it, it doesn't mean that I won't. It just means that for whatever reason, the inhabitants on the other side of the door couldn't get there quite fast enough to let me in. Now, second of all, I'm also going to share that because you guys, and I love it, you guys always bring me such amazing things to look into, so much information, that I'm going to actually show you how many pages I channeled. Double-sided, all of this. It's impossible for me to just remember everything that I channeled. And yes, I did of course read through my notes prior to sitting down to record. It's still a lot. So I am going to be looking down on my notebooks on occasion. I know you'll forgive me. You don't watch me because I'm perfectly polished. You watch me because I'm real, just like you, okay? So yes, I will be looking down. It's the information that's more important. It's not, like anything else. Like if my makeup is perfect, or if, I'm not kicking my tripod or anything like that. Sometimes it's garbage day and the garbage trucks are going by. Sometimes I get like an Amazon delivery in the middle. It's real life, guys. All right, so with that in mind, let's dive in. And yes, there's going to be timestamps down below. You are more than welcome to hop around to look up your favorite topic if you do want to. I do also just ask that you watch it all the way through, even if it takes you, some time to come back to it, because there's a lot of goodies in here. So why not? All right, first person I was asked to look into is the late actor Paul Walker. And this is what was shown to me about Paul. He discovered I'm not sure if I could say the word, the little children, when little children go on a school bus to go to school, but this is a different kind of location. They're not going to school, and there's a lot of traffic on the way to where they're going. So it's, the little kids on the school bus, and there's traffic to where they're going, okay? He discovered that. And he didn't understand when he had first discovered it that it was one piece in a much, much larger puzzle. He didn't understand at the time he discovered it that there was a cabal involved. And the way in which he just thought it was like a Hollywood issue. It was like some weird random shit that some actors did in Hollywood. But this is what he actually discovered. He was at a party and he walked into a room. And what he saw at the party was there was a very inebriated adult male who was being pleasured, if you will, by two underage humans. And this was also being recorded. And he was confused and he didn't understand what he had seen. Like, obviously, like, he comprehended what he saw with his own eyes. But it was like a very, very weird thing. There was like a woman off to the side, like kind of, but not really dressed. And then there was two little underage humans and a very, 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 very inebriated male star. And then there was someone then recording it. So yeah, he understood visually what he had seen, but he didn't like comprehend what he had seen. But it really stayed with him. And he wanted to discuss it. And he thought, if this is, again, not understanding there was a cabal behind it, but he thought if this is like a weird Hollywood fetish, then he wanted to blow the lid on it. But because he didn't know who he could trust or who he could discuss it with, he was starting to make a lot of noise by asking questions in and around other people. And therefore, because of it, he was in fact taken out. He was becoming a little bit too much of a disruptor. He was asking too many questions. He was not, again, because he didn't understand there was a cabal involved behind it and that it was one piece in a much larger puzzle, was asking too many questions, being too vocal, not covering his tracks, not being careful. So yes, he was taken out. What was also shown to me is that he is long gone. Like, his soul is nowhere near Earth anymore. He recognizes that he had a great life in this incarnation as Paul Walker, but he couldn't bear coming back to this place where, quote, these are his words, so much evil exists, end quote. So that's Paul Walker. I hope that answers your question. If not, comment down below and let me know. Oh, and now might be a good time also to say, smash that like button down below. All right, let's move on. The next person I was asked to look into is Amanda Knox. Now, the story with Amanda Knox is she had been studying overseas, I think maybe in Italy, I'm not exactly sure where. This is going back maybe, I don't know, 15 or so years. And she was living in a house with roommates, and one of her roommates was killed. And due to the way that she was behaving shortly thereafter, when she was asked to go to the police station, there was always some suspicion cast around her that perhaps she had been involved in the murder of her roommate. Now, again, I'm just going to say, as I have said in so many other videos, first and foremost, we all grieve differently. And that is, it's dependent on the amount of trauma that we have endured in our own life. What are we being triggered by? Is something big and notable happening that's triggering a past wounding? Is it something new? How dysregulated is our internal nervous system? Are we going into fight or flight? Are we just going into freeze? There are so many components that are layered when it comes to the way in which people publicly grieve and mourn. So just keep that in mind. Now, what was actually shown to me about her, or rather I'm going to share the experience that I had when I tapped into her energy, which is, as soon as I tapped into her energy, where I always channel on my sofa, I lay down, I curled myself up into a little ball to protect myself. I did not feel comfortable around her energy. Her energy made me feel unsafe. That is not to say that she killed her roommate. It's just to say that on an energetic level, I didn't feel safe around her energy. Here's why. Her energy came in as agitated, excitable, sometimes manic. And on the extreme ends, she could also be bipolar, but extreme energetic bipolar. I'm not saying she is bipolar. I'm not diagnosing her. I haven't met her. I'm not a therapist. I haven't done any of the diagnostic tests that are necessary for diagnosing somebody. I'm saying energetically, the way she felt to me was agitated, excitable, manic, And the opposite end of the mania is in extreme form of low vibration depression. Now, what was also shown to me is that when she was down, she was out of herself. She was like out of her body. The only time she was actually in her body was when she was agitated, excitable, or manic. But she would leave her body energetically in the times when she was not any of those things. So when she was experiencing the depressive elements or the depressive episodes, she was not in her body. She was taken over by an entity at those times. And therefore, what I was kind of getting from this is that she may have been indirectly involved in what happened to her roommate, but she has no memory of what occurred. And again, she has no memory of what occurred because she was not in her body at that time, or she was taken over at that time. And if you've watched my other videos, specifically, for example, the one like on Las Vegas, the energy of a place will determine the kind of beings and entities that are there. And the energy of the host will also determine the kind of entities that can come into the host. So if you're a high vibration person, you're not going to be an energetic match for a very, very low, dense, heavy energetic entity. They won't be able to come in. So if one is a low vibration person, they are only an energetic match for a low vibration entity. Therefore, a low vibration entity can seamlessly come into them. What do low vibration entities like to do? Cause chaos. What's maybe a kind of form of chaos? Maybe it's saying something to a shady looking person that on an energetic level, because now you're an energetic match with that energetic other low vibration person, maybe it's recognizing they're a chaos causer themselves, and maybe it's making a comment to them about somebody that you live with that can cause some unfortunate circumstance to befall them. Because that's kind of what I think happened here. But again, she doesn't have a memory of it. She doesn't have a recollection of it. She was not even in her body at that time. Okay, so that's what I picked up on for Amanda Knox. I hope that answers any questions that you have, and if not, you can ask down below. The next person that I was asked to look into, this is a good one. This is someone I had never even thought is, oh, sorry, I was jumping around. Actually, the next one is Eminem. Now, this question has come up more than once, so I really wanted to make sure that I was going to get to it in this AMA and that it was not going to carry over. So the question is, do Eminem's family know that he's gone, and do they know that he's actually a clone at this point? So two things came in. So first of all, yes, but no, which sounds funny. So yes, I was shown that first of all, his brother pretty early on realized that there was something off with him. But his brother, not being in the industry, didn't know or didn't understand what was off with him, just was like, something's not right with M. I don't know what it is, but something's not right with him. But then something very, very notable happened, which actually clued the brother in. What was shown to me is there was something about him marrying his ex-wife. I think her name is Kim. And even though he's kind of talked about her a lot in like all of his songs and in interviews and saying like, I think I had even seen he had said she was like the love of his life. But I have a feeling there was something so devastating on a soul level about their divorce that his brother knew that Eminem, would never marry her again because of the psychological fallout that he experienced when they had actually divorced. So the fact that Eminem married her again was actually a huge red flag to his brother. And he looked at that and he's like, M wouldn't do that. So that clued him in that there was something more going on that he couldn't yet understand. Even now, with him having kind of the understanding that this is probably a clone, he still struggles with it. Like his brother really, really, really struggles with the realization that his brother is really genuinely and truly gone. And sometimes he'll even get like a glimpse of the old Eminem that makes him think, oh, it's my brother. But it's like so quick and it's so fleeting. It's like a butterfly flying by on a nice day and then it's gone. That's kind of what the experience is like for him. So he has a hard time with it. But he mostly has come to the realization and the acceptance that it is not his brother. Now, sorry guys, I'm also getting over a cold. So that's why I'm a little like bucklemp sounding and why there's a lot of like sniffling. Or maybe it's just ascension symptoms. Whatever it is, I'm still in the middle of it. So again, I know you don't watch me because I'm like perfectly polished. It's real life, guys. Okay. Now, about his daughter. I'm just a clown over here, truly and genuinely. His daughter thought that the money actually got to Eminem. So what she was seeing, what she was perceiving, what she was experiencing with her dad, especially when she was younger, she just thought he was changed because of the fame and because of the money. Now that she's older, she's a little bit more savvy to it. She doesn't know what she's savvy to, other than knowing, kind of like in the beginning stages of what his brother went through. Something's off with M, but I don't know what it is. So now she understands it's not the money, there's something off with him, but she doesn't understand what she's experiencing as being off. Okay, so I hope that answers your question about Eminem. And now we're going to move on to Justin Trudeau. Now this is interesting. This is something I had never ever seen before. That Justin Trudeau is an example of generational nepotism. What does that mean? Many, but not all leaders, but many leaders on the world stage have been implanted into positions of power for specifically this reason. And why? First and foremost, they have been raised, indoctrinated, if you will, into this lifestyle, into this understanding. They have been bred for the purposes of playing a role on the world stage and understanding that they do not really have a choice in the script that they're given, right? They're given a script, they have to read lines, they have to be portraying a character on the world stage, but the lines are not their own, so the words they say are not theirs, it's a script that was written for them, and they don't have any control over the way in which their character is perceived because, again, they're playing a role. But they get a lot of benefits that come with it. First of all, they get to be well-known, they get to be famous, if you will, and they get a lot of money. Because if you're playing a prominent role on the world stage, you're going to be very, very well compensated for it, right? It's like a really, really high-paid actor. Look at like the Brad Pitts of the world. They're not getting involved with a movie if they're going to get paid $250,000. Those are the actors that are only going to get involved in a movie if they're getting the $20 million payday. It's kind of the same thing with the very, very big rulers on the world stage. They're not taking the little fucking payday gigs. They are a big prominent person on the world stage. So they're going to be well compensated. So yes, they get the money, but that also serves one of the other purposes of the generational nepotism, which is that you're not giving money to some rando. You're giving it to someone that's in the family. You're giving it to someone that's in the club. You're giving it to somebody that knows the rules and knows to abide by them. They're not a wild card. They're not going rogue. They know the part they're supposed to play, and they like to keep the money in the family, so to say. Now, what was also shown to me is that he is, in fact, for anyone who is curious, he is, in fact, Fidel Castro's son, and he knows it. And he has been a very dutiful soldier for the Black Hats in playing the part that he was supposed to. But he has now made a deal, and he's being a very dutiful soldier for the White Hats and is further playing the role that he is supposed to. But it's a different script writer. So like imagine in season, he's on a show. It's the Justin Trudeau show. Seasons 1 through 5 of Justin Trudeau being in power, they had one particular script writer. The script writer went by an alias, the Black Hat. Now in season 6 through 10, there's a different screenwriter. And this screenwriter goes by the pseudonym, the White Hat. So he, Justin Trudeau, is continuing to just play a role. It's just a different script writer. It's just a different script. But he's still the same actor, and he knows he has to play the part. Just a different script writer. Look at it that way. And yes, he did take a deal with them, okay, in case anyone is wondering. Now, what was also shown to me is there were 2 other examples of this generational nepotism. One of them is Angela Merkel. Do your research, no spoon-feeding here. If you are suspicious about who she is an offspring of, if you know what I'm talking about, yes, that's the answer. And the other one that was shown to me as an example of generational nepotism is Barack Obama. Do your research. Or comment down below and maybe somebody else will answer it. Because we get pretty, lively with the comments down here. So, but I'm always going to encourage you to be empowered and to do the research yourself if it is something that speaks to you and is something that you're curious about. Okay, next one is Justin Bieber. Biebs. Okay, so for all you Bieber fans, this is what was shown to me about Biebs. He is, in fact, a shape-shifting reptilian. So the incident that occurred a few years ago in an airport where there was some speculation, it looked like he had shape-shifted, it was because he did. Now, what was also shown to me about the reptilians is that they like to place their own, meaning their offspring, into positions of prominence and to use them on the world stage for different purposes, such as distractions, entertainment, anything to capture our attention. And this is what Biebs has been used for. He was put onto the world stage to be an entertainer, to capture the attention of an entire generation of young girls. And now that he is older and he's married, he's being used for a different purpose. The purpose now is what is going on with Selena Gomez and his wife, Hailey Bieber. And I don't know a lot about it, but I know there was, what was it? They said that Hailey Bieber and one of the Jenners had made some sort of a reference. They were throwing shade at Selena Gomez. Understand that all of this is by design. Because everything that is playing out on the world stage and the drama that is associated with it is manufactured, and it is designed to keep our attention away from ourselves and therefore away from our own ascension. So and what was also shown to me is that every generation there is these so-called public fallouts. If you go back a few years, what was the last one? There was one with Katy Perry and Taylor Swift. Go back a few more years before that, there was the instance of what had happened between Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, and Jennifer Aniston, right? All of these really, really big, famous, notable people having these notable spats, or might seem like they're behind the door, like notable spats, right? Like, oh, did Angelina steal Brad Pitt or did Brad Pitt leave Jennifer Aniston? It's all manufactured. It's all fake. None of these so-called public fallouts are real. And what was shown to me is that part of their contract, so a celebrity will sign, let's say, a contract with the cabal, part of their contract can include any number of things, such as a feud with another well-known famous celebrity, marriages, divorces, right? And I've kind of spoken about this in the video I had done on Hollywood, and I'll link that down below if you haven't seen it and you want to. But all of this is written in. And the contract can change at any time. You're not in charge of the contract. You're just the actor. You're given a script of what you have to, of the character that you're playing. Sometimes the character that you're playing is going to have a fallout with another celebrity. Sometimes it's going to include a marriage or a divorce or a breakup or a whatever. Or it's a humiliation ritual. The contract can change anytime because sorry, it's noisy. Again, real life. The contract can change anytime because you're just the character under the contract. The scriptwriter can change at any time and you have no say in it, right? It can be black hat scriptwriter, it could be white hat scriptwriter. You may not like what the scriptwriter is writing in for you in any one particular season, but guess what? You're under contract. You still have to play that role. So everything that we see going on in Hollywood, in the industry, in the rag mags, all of that is all a fabrication. None of it is real. And again, it is designed to capture our attention and to keep our focus and attention diverted away from ourselves, our spiritual pursuits, and our ultimate ascension. Okay. The next one that I was asked to look into, so I know that was supposed to be like a question on Justin Bieber. There was a lot of other information that came out of it. This is what was shown to me. And I think I've kind of like in the last AMA I had shared with you, when I sit down to channel, it's kind of like going into Target. Sometimes you go into Target and you get exactly what was on your list and nothing else. Sometimes you go into Target and you get what was on your list and you get a bunch of other random shit that wasn't on your list. And sometimes you go into Target and you forget what you went there for because there's all these other goodies that weren't there last time and you get distracted and you're like, ooh, I need that. Happened to me more times than I can count. I leave with like cute planters, no paper towels. So yes, this is an instance where I went in looking specifically at Justin Bieber and I got Justin Bieber and it turned into a whole bunch of other things as well pertaining to Hollywood, his wife, throwing shade, and how none of it is even real. But if you're curious if he is a shape-shifting reptilian, the answer is yes. All right, next one that was asked is the Kardashians. Let's go there. What's going on with the Kardashians? Okay. And I'm also going to say I actually resisted looking into them for a long time, even though you guys have been requesting them, and something about them just felt weird, and I just didn't want to go there. But I guess I was in a good mood, and I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's just get them out of the way for once and for all. So the Kardashians were shown to me, and I think this is the kind of insect that does this. I think they're black widows. I'm not sure if that's the insect that will mate and then they'll kill the other insect of the opposite gender that they're mating with. But that's what they're shown to me as, okay? Either as black widows because they are black widows, or because that's actually the insect that does that. If it's not the insect that does that, they're still the insect that does that. If that makes any sense. But they're black widows, okay? And it was shown to me as such because they energetically kill the men after they mate with them. But the mating season for each of the men that they mate with can be any particular time period. So like how it actually happens with the insects, or they mate with them and then they just kill them. But for each of the women, there's a particular season of time that their mating lasts. So for example, look at, what's her name? Not Kim, not Chloe, not Kylie. Oh, maybe it is Kylie. I don't know. It's the one that was married to Scott Disick. She was with him for many, many years, and I think they had, what, like 4 kids together? So her mating season with Scott Disick happened to have been many, many years long. It was a long mating season. It's a different mating season length for all of the different Kardashian women. But it doesn't change what is going on there. Their true purpose in getting together with the male is they derive their power off of mating with them, and they extract their energy and thereafter hang their male mates out to dry. And what was shown also to me is that Kim, having been married 3 times, that was not actually a failure. That was successful. And they were successful behind the veil because they all did what they were intended to do, which was for all of the men that she had married, there was a particular energy that she was meant to extract from them. That's why it was not a failure. She successfully did what she was supposed to do, even if it looks like it was a failure. They're also, what was shown to me is they're all also into black magic, very, very dark and demonic black magic. It was also shown to me that Kris Jenner traded the souls of her kids in exchange for the family's success. All the girls have been completely taken over and are being used for different purposes. Now, what are they being used for? Look at the fact that they're constantly changing their appearance. Why might that be the case? And why are they doing it so much? And then they're denying that they've had any work done. Okay, so let's break it down. So first and foremost, this serves 2 purposes. It was shown to me that the way in which they change their body is actually a reflection of the demonic entity that is inhabiting their body. Weird, I know. But let's say a few years back, the girls had the Brazilian butt implants. They had those big badonkadonks. That was a reflection of the personal preference of the way in which that demonic being liked to adorn its body. It looked at it like it was jewelry. Look at my accessory. I got a big ass now. But what that also does is it pushes forth an agenda, a particular agenda about what is deemed to be beautiful and desirable in society as a whole. And then a few years later, they might have a different demonic entity that is inhabiting them. And this demonic entity is looking at the big ass and it's like, I want to swap it out. That's not my style. Like, look at it the way you would change like earrings. Like maybe for a couple of years, you're into wearing like gold earrings. And then a few years later, you're like, gold is a little overplayed. Now I'm into silver. It's all silver all the time right now. That is the way in which the body parts are deemed to be interchangeable and replaceable by the entity that is inhabiting it. Because again, it's not the person that's in their body any longer. So the entity that is inhabiting them is not feeling the experiences that the body is. You're probably looking at it and you're thinking, those look like they're going to be really, really big, intense, traumatic surgeries that somebody's going to be experiencing. That's gotta hurt. Why do they keep doing it to themselves? They're doing it to themselves because they are no longer themselves. There is a new entity that is inhabiting their body. And the way we would interchange jewelry is the way that they're interchanging different body parts. That's on the one hand. Second of all, it is also done to mess with society's mind as a whole, as it relates to different appearances and what is again deemed to be beautiful. And then on top of it, they will deny that they have had any work done. So they went from having the big asses to now having the skinny asses. They went from having, being a little bit more full-figured to now looking like they're gaunt and emaciated. And it is messing with the mind of society. It's like I'm getting whiplash from trying to keep on top of all of like the trends of what is so-called considered beautiful, right? Now, what are all of those women who got the Brazilian butt implants gonna do? Are they gonna take it out now? Because society is now saying, no, big asses are out. Now we're going back to like the gaunt heroin chic look. You're stuck with that big ass lady, you know? So it's really, really messing with society's perception of what is considered to be beautiful. Now, what was also shown to me is to go back to the reference I had mentioned about the girls being like black widows and them energetically sucking the life force energy out of their partners, was that Scott Disick lost his mind after being with, oh, that's her name, Courtney. Chloe's men seem to always have drug problems after they leave or after she breaks up with them, no matter what's like written on the world stage, like, oh, Tristan had an affair, he left her. That's written. She sucked him of whatever it is that she wanted to extract from him, and then she hung him out to dry. That's just the way it works. And Kanye was a mess. And yes, I'm going to do Kanye after. I will come back to him. Now, super interesting what was also shown to me, Caitlyn Jenner, who used to be Bruce Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner got away, right? Because he and Kris Jenner are divorced. And now Caitlyn, who used to be Bruce and is now living as a woman, what was shown to me, this is wild, he had all of his masculine energy sucked out of him by Kris. And that is why he is now living as Caitlyn. She extracted energetically his male life force energy so that she could become more masculine, and therefore left him feeling energetically emasculated, which is why he is now living as Caitlyn. Now, the girls have also been used to normalize unhealthy body standards, as I had mentioned, having multiple kids out of wedlock, as like what happened with Courtney, multiple marriages, and oversharing a narcissistic lifestyle. So part of their purpose, part of their meaning, part of their mission is to normalize something that is not normal. Oversharing our lives. It's actually not normal to do that. It's actually not healthy to do that. It is actually narcissistic to do that because it shows a lack of boundaries. And what do narcissists have? One of the many attributes, a lack of boundary recognition. So the fact that they have been living their lives so big, so publicly, so out there, is to normalize something that is not normal. It is to normalize narcissism. Okay? So that was what shown to me about the Kardashians. Now I'm going to skip ahead to Kanye, which I got somewhere at the end here. How are you all doing? Is everyone having a good day? I'm coming live from Antarctica. It's so darn cold here, hence the turtleneck today. I'm just talking to keep you entertained while I look for my notes on Kanye. La la la. Oh, here we go. All right. All right, so this is what was shown to me about Kanye. Kanye has a lot of sadness around him. He showed me that when him and Kim first got together, he felt that energetically he had the upper hand, but not in a controlling, belittling, or demeaning way. It was more that he felt he was the bigger star and he had more star power. And because she had also been married 2 times prior, not understanding that that was actually successful, but because she had been married 2 times prior, he was looking at it like she's kind of a punchline. She doesn't have she's not really serious. No one's gonna take her serious. So he felt like by getting together with her, he was going to be elevating her status. Again, not understanding that the women in the family are all Black widows and that them getting together was actually for the purpose of her extracting things from him. But again, not understanding that, not knowing it at the time, he looked at it like he was going to be energetically raising her star power. And he also felt that the family rolled out the red carpet to make him feel welcome and wanted. And he was completely dazzled by them. They put on this appearance of being this amazing, connected family that really, really care about each other, and they really, really care about their spouse, and he was dazzled by it. He believed the facade of what they showed him to be real and to be true. And he was also really eager to believe what they showed him because he really liked Kim and he really wanted it to work with her. So the family loving him was like icing on the cake. And because he was so eager for this to work, he probably overlooked a lot of the red flags that were there. Because they're always there. He was so eager. He really, really liked Kim. So he overlooked a lot of things that were present at the time. Now, he also had shared with me that they were both equally ambitious and that this was a huge plus for him. He had had very healthy self-esteem and he believed that he was going places. And so he felt to meet somebody that was as equally ambitious as he was, Kim, he felt that they were going to be unstoppable. It was like a meeting of the minds. It was 2 highly ambitious people that wanted to achieve and accomplish the same things in life. And he really liked her. This seemed like it was too good to be true. So it felt like a dream to him. And he really thought that they could do great things together. Now, what was shown to me is that things started to change after they started to have kids. And there was lots of disagreements over how they were going to raise their kids because Kanye wanted to actually shield his kids from what he called the system. And he wanted to keep them as kids for as long as possible. But Kim, on the other hand, had no qualms with murching the kids or indoctrinating them. She was like gung-ho on all of it. And he said that he mostly ended up losing these arguments because he didn't realize how powerful Kris Jenner was. So he had shown me that all the warmth that she had had towards him when they were dating vanished. And now there was a new version of Kris that could cut him down to size with a comment. And he was so stunned by the things that she would say that he was actually just like quiet. You know, like sometimes, imagine if you will, like you fall. And it's such a bad fall that like you can't get up right away. You just lay there for a second. You're like, imagine you like tripped going down a flight of stairs and then you get to the bottom of the stairs and you're just like, am I alive? Am I okay? Is anything broken? You're not jumping up onto your feet right after. It takes you a second to like scan your body. This is what it was like energetically with Kris. She would say things that were so demeaning and would cut him down to size. It was like he had fallen down a flight of stairs and all he could do thereafter was to be quiet and like scan himself. Am I alive? Is anything broken? Am I okay? Did this really happen? Did she just really say that to me? So him being quiet thereafter was very, very new and very, very different for him. So he mostly lost the arguments with Kim because of Kris. That Kris, again, what he had loved so much about the family initially was how involved they all were with one another's lives. When he was being love bombed by the family, seemed like it was so great, but now on the other side of it, he's realizing this is just too much togetherness. Like, I can't even make a decision with my wife about the way I want to raise my kids, because here's the matriarch all up in our business. And then she's saying these horrible things, cutting him down to size, and he was left speechless. So Kris weighing in on the way in which the kids were going to be raised actually was slowly, energetically inching him out of his relationship with his kids and his own influence with his kids. Now, when I did try to broach the subject of clones, he did not want to talk about it, but he did acknowledge to me that he sometimes had to go in for a tune-up. Okay. From there, he jumped around and he showed me, and we're going to come back to this idea of tune-up in a minute, but I kind of followed where he wanted to take me. But he showed me that after their second child was born, Kim was like a wife in the movie The Stepford Wives, but not where she was obedient. It was shown to me that she was actually shut down like the women in The Stepford Wives. And he believes that she was traded out at that point, which is also why the other kids that were born to them were born to surrogates, because it wasn't really Kim. He says that he had told me that at that time, when she was traded out, the marriage was over, but he stayed because he wanted to be close to his kids and he feared how they were going to be raised without his influence. Now, he also shared with me that he called her not Kim. So when Kim was traded out, he referred to her as not Kim. He also shared that he had refused to have sex with not Kim, but sorry guys, he was sleeping in a separate bedroom at that point. He wasn't, again, the marriage was, in his eyes, it was already over at that point, but he wouldn't leave. So they were sleeping in separate bedrooms, and he would wake up in his other bedroom with not Kim on top of him, riding him in a sexual manner. And it thoroughly freaked him out. He said at this point, everything was bizarre. It was like how quick the Kardashians were to do whatever they were told to do. He said that usually he would do it too, but let's say he was given like a time period in which he had to do something, he might wait until like the 11th hour to do it because he still wanted to have a sense of autonomy over himself. So he's recognizing, okay, I made a deal. I'm now in the system, as he calls it. They've given me a task, right? I have a script. There's something I have to say. There's something I have to do. But he would wait to do it. Your homework assignment, if you will, has to be turned in 12 o'clock on Thursday morning. He might wait until 11 o'clock on Thursday morning. But the Kardashians, the minute they would get the assignment, they would run to do it and they would run to complete it. And he said the reason he would turn it in at the last minute is he wanted to retain some semblance of himself, although he had joined the system. But he said it seemed like they didn't. They retained no part of themselves, and they loved being in the system so much that the minute they were given a task to do, they would run to do it. So he shared with me that he more looked at joining the system as a way to get where you wanted to go, but they looked at it like it was life itself. And he also showed me that what they do with any up-and-coming celebrity any newcomer that's slowly starting to work their way up, is they will actually, prior to that person even joining the club, what they will actually do is they will create a clone of that person. And then what they will do is they will take the artist to see the clone. Imagine how creepy that must be. But they will be taken to see them. And that is done with the intention because they are then told, here's your script. Here's what you do. Here's the part that you're going to play. And if you don't play that part, we're just going to replace you. And they understand that the word replace actually means kill. So that is the way that they're keeping all of the celebrities in line. Here's the script. You're just a character. You're just playing a part. Here's the lines that you're going to say. Here's the people you're going to have a relationship with. Here's how long it's going to last. Here's what's going to happen after. Here's the example that's coming in right now is this little girl named Jojo Siwa, I think, right? She's like the first, I think she's the first openly, is she the first? Guys, honestly, I don't even keep up with these things anymore. I don't know if she's like the first openly lesbian or trans. I don't even know. But understand that that's a role she's playing. That's what's written into her script. That's who she is told that she has to be in the club. And if she doesn't want to play by the rules, no problem. They'll replace her. They already got one lined up. And he did also confirm to me, because I asked again, that there are clones of him, but what they prefer to do with Yi is to scramble him to keep him in line. So I asked, what does scramble mean? And he shared with me, because sometimes he doesn't really like answer a question in a straight way. It's kind of like he'll tell a story to get to the answer at the end of the story. So what he had actually shared with me by way of answering my question is he was showing me that depending on the nature of the artist, when they join the club, that will determine the punishment that will be meted out to them if they don't play by the rules. So if you do like a small infringement, they're probably not just going to kill you, right? You might get like a slap on the wrist. You might have like a humiliation ritual written into the script of the character that you're playing. Like for example, maybe like I haven't looked into Amanda Bynes, so I'm not saying this is what's going on with her. But for example, Amanda Bynes having like, these very, very sad and tragic mental breakdowns, that might be because that's what's been written into the script of her character. It could also just be that due to the fact that she was a young kid in Hollywood, imagine what was done to her. Now knowing what's done to these kids, that just really fucked with her brain. So there's a lot of different variables in terms of what we actually see playing out on the world stage. So what they had actually done with Kanye is that because he feels like his mind is his greatest asset, what they had done to him to keep him in line is they will scramble his mind. And he said the last time they did that, they left his mind feeling like it was scrambled eggs. And it took months for him to recover. And he wasn't even sure that he was going to recover thereafter. So yes, when you see, for example, things coming out on the world stage, such as a Harley Pasternak, who's a personal trainer to many a star, when we see the Harley Pasternaks of the world coming out and tweeting things at Kanye, do you remember what happened last time? That's not a thinly veiled threat, because that is actually something that had been done to him. So how are they keeping Yi in line? Through scrambling his mind. And they think perhaps that they're going to scramble his mind to the point of no return, because again, look at it this way. What is your particular arrogance, if you will, or what is your ego most connected to? So for Ye, it's his mind. So what are they going to go after as a form of punishment? His mind. So they may not completely replace him with a clone. They may want to punish him by scrambling his mind. So in those intermittent periods that we see where it seems like he's lucid and he's clear and he's coming forth and he's talking about things that we're like, what the fuck? I can't believe he's talking about these things. That is where he was lucid in his mind and he was doing a disclosure because that's when he had full access of his mind. He said, though, now because he continues to act out, what they will actually do with him is now they're at a point where they will threaten his children to him. Okay, Ye, you're still not playing by the rules. Next time, there's going to be a consequence. The consequence is not to you. The consequence is to one of your kids. You don't want your kids indoctrinated into the system? Guess what we're going to do? We're going to indoctrinate one of your kids into the system. They're probably already indoctrinated at this point. But maybe it's like there's certain levels. There's different, like how quick or how slow are they going to do it? How much are they going to fuck with your kid? Okay, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. You're choosing for us to do this the hard way. We're going to fuck with your kids big time now. Now, he also shared that Kim is gone, but he says he doesn't know if she's gone, as in sleeping with the fishies, or if she's just mentally been completely hijacked and taken over. I know, this is where it got a little bit strange, because before he was saying after their second kid, there was a not Kim, but I think the not Kim retained some of the essence of Kim inside of her. Now he feels like Kim is completely gone. But he also shared, and this is Kanye sharing this with me. This is not my opinion. He feels that she actually chose to sacrifice herself, meaning she's gone, not just mentally gone, but sleeping with the fishies gone. That she chose to sacrifice herself to help elevate the family status. So the Kardashian family status. Not his family status, not his kid's status, the Kardashian family status. And that he believes she would do that because they sell them, this is his words, they sell them this shit about transferring consciousness to different bodies. Not a clone, but an entirely different person. So, for example, there might be some of the essence of Kim in the not Kim. But she might decide, I'm ready to take myself out altogether because she has been told this idea that they can transfer her consciousness into a totally different new person. So there's going to be essence of her in the not Kim, but then she can go on and she can be somebody else altogether. So it's like, imagine what I had shared before about like changing your accessories, right? I went through my gold period, now I'm in my silver period. So maybe she went through her dark-haired period, and now, now she wants to go into being, she wants to look like she's a Nordic woman. She's Norwegian. She's like 6 feet tall, blonde eyes, blue eyes, blue eyes, blonde hair. She can just completely be a different person. So this is the kind, and I don't know if it's real or not. I'm just saying this is what Kanye told me, that they sell them this shit about transferring consciousness to different bodies, to a different person outright. So they tell them that the person wouldn't really die, but through sacrificing themselves, they'll elevate the family status and they still get to live on. Now, he also shared with me that he didn't really understand the ramification of joining the club and what he had to give up at the time that he joined the club. He said that he also felt always destined for greatness, and he believes that had actually clouded his judgment. And now that he is so-called, maybe quote unquote great, now that he is famous, well-known, a celebrity, he doesn't know if it's because he really is great or if it's just because he joined the club. And these are the things that keep him up at night and plague him. It actually, in a way, by selling himself out to the club, undermined the sense of self and identity and his self of consciousness. Because like he had shared earlier on, he always felt like he was destined to join the club. And he was not destined to join the club. He always felt like he was destined for greatness. But now that he is great, is it really because he was destined for it and because he's that talented and he's that gifted? Or is it because he's just a member of the club? So it actually did a number on him. That is what I have for you on Kanye. Let's go back in time, because I channel things at different time. Let's go back. All right, so here we go. Next question that I had received was on Lady Gaga. Here's what I got for you on Gaga. It was shown to me that Gaga was always a little quirky, a little dark, and a little different. Her energy came in as very Aquarian. And for anyone who is into astrology, you will know that Aquarians, they kind of like dance to the beat of their own drummer. They're a little aloof, they're a little different. Not like in a bad way. They're just like, they're a little different. And so she took to the dark instantaneously. Whatever it was, she was in. I was also told that she was, quote, bred for this. And that her success was somehow a reward to her family. It was also shown to me that there is more than one version of her. Which, now with what Ye had just shared, we understand that there's clones for all of the celebrities. But, take it a step further. I'm going to explain what that means. That there's a version of her that's actually a woman. There's also a version of her, because she was bred for this, there's also a version of her that was bred as a hermaphrodite. And a hermaphrodite occurs naturally in nature. There are people that actually are hermaphrodites that weren't bred to be them. Jamie Lee Curtis is actually one of them. But a hermaphrodite is somebody that is born with both female and male genitalia. So they're born with breasts and a vagina and a penis. And there's one version of Gaga that's a woman, and there's one version of Gaga that's a hermaphrodite. So that yes, if you have seen an interview with her where she is being intentionally vague, like she was with Anderson Cooper, where he asks her flat out about it, oh, there's rumors that you're actually a man and you have male genitalia. And the way that she answered it, I think she had like ice in her mouth or something, and she's like, and if I am? So what? Understand that that's first of all a reveal, because the Cabal, according to their laws of karmic retribution, they can do whatever they want as long as they tell you what they're doing. So that was a reveal, because the plan was later on that she was bred for this because she was supposed to be the gold standard for future entertainers. Go back to what I had shared about JoJo Siwa a few minutes ago. That's the script that's the character that JoJo Siwa is playing. Gaga was going to come out that she's in fact a hermaphrodite as a way of not normalizing the natural way in which these things occur, but look at it more like on the working in tandem with the trans agenda, which is again to normalize, but this through a actual celebrity, to normalize changing your, not just identifying as a different gender, but changing your body to reflect the gender. So she was supposed to be part of this. And that, but the white hats had come into power and they put an end to that. Which is why it was shown to me that she is not such a prominent musician anymore. Because what was starting to come to light was everything with Marina Abramovich and the spirit cooking. And what they wanted to do was to cover it, so to say, to kind of like suppress the agenda as the white hats were coming into power. So then they would have like plausible deniability. No, this was not part of the agenda. Not at all. So they actually started to suppress it, and that's why they shuffled her into acting, which was a way to pivot our attention away from Gaga the performer, and now for us to start to associate and identify her as Gaga the actress. So it was just kind of like, look at it like a sleight of hands. Look here, not there. She's an actress now. She's a serious actress. She's not the performer. So it was done very, very intentionally that way. And yes, she was bred for this. Okay? So I hope that that answers your question about Lady Gaga. If not, comment down below. And also understand, I know there was a question asked about, did she sacrifice her friend for her fame? I'm going to say no, she did not, because remember, she was bred for this. And she was a reward for her family in one way, shape, or form. So I don't think that that's true. The next topic that I was asked to look into are the solar flares and the Schuman resonance. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Now, I don't know a tremendous amount about the Schuman resonance, other than it is registering the intensity and the frequency of the solar flares. And what are solar flares? This is a naturally occurring thing as well, where I don't recall what they're called, but there's a terminology for where a piece, if you will, it sounds wild, but like where a piece of the sun actually like detaches from the sun, and it's a solar flare, and because it detaches and it moves away from the sun, it sends a great deal of energy towards Earth. That's my understanding of the way that solar flares work. And there's an actual like scientific term for it. And the Schuman resonance actually registers the strength and duration and frequency of the solar flares. Now, what is all of this? Why do we care about solar flares and the Schuman resonance? Here's where it becomes interesting. So, as we ascend, we are ascending in tandem with Mother Earth. And she is ascending in tandem with us, because this is our home and we are her inhabitants. We have to ascend energetically, both together and both at once. Or if we're no longer an energetic match, we'll burn up and die if she's ascending faster than we will. If we ascend faster than her, then energetically we're still going to be an incongruent match, because if you think about energy, Earth is the heaviest, densest energy that there is. So we are ascending in tandem one another. And this was also shown to me as a way of explaining where we go one, we go all, because we all have to ascend together. And anyone who is not ascending, or who has made the decision prior to incarnating that they do not want to ascend at this time, they're going to pass away prior to the massive ascension, because they will not be an energetic match for where we are going. What does this have to do with solar flares? So what was shown to me is that solar flares are helping us burn off our heavier and denser energies, and that they will continue to get stronger, because with each one that comes, they burn off more and more of the lower, heavier, denser energies, and therefore when the next one comes, we're able to handle a stronger one. It's kind of like, think of contractions before a woman gives birth. The speed in which the contractions are coming are going to get closer and closer together. That is part of the preparation for labor. This is very much the same way. So the solar flares are going to get stronger, as in contractions getting stronger. They're going to last longer, and there's going to be less space in between them. It's literally just like the contractions a woman experiences as her body gets ready to birth a new soul into the world. If you will, we are new souls being birthed into a new world. Now, this is affecting Earth too, as she holds the heaviest, densest energy. Literally, if you think about what is Earth, it's heavy and dense. So just like we burn off density, she will have to as well. Now, interestingly, what was also shown to me is that we will start to see some more wild weather. But this is actually not weather manipulated weather. This is actually true, genuine weather. But I was also shown that this is nothing to fear, because this is Earth burning off her lower, denser energy, and it is not weather manipulation. So what we may see as Earth is burning off her lower, heavier, denser energy is we may see some volcanoes, because that is a literal burning. What is a volcano? Literally burning. It's a literal burning and expelling things from inside of Earth. We also might see lots of rain and flooding, because what does that represent? Washing things away, washing away impurities. And we may also see earthquakes, because that is a way to naturally close the underground tunnels and bases that have been used for nefarious things. This was shown to benefit all of us, because Mother Earth needs to purge the heaviness just as we do. And Earth is righting herself energetically because of all of the weather manipulation that has been done to her. Now, I was also shown we will continue to have ascension symptoms that can feel like flu-like symptoms. We may also feel incredibly tired and have the presence of headaches. And in connection with this, it was shown to me that it is really important to rest when we experience these ascension symptoms, especially tiredness. Do not push through, because our time on Earth has been completely out of alignment, and we have been conned. This is the word that came in. We have been conned into this value system that our value is connected to how much we do. But that is a lie. So resting is essential, as it is helping us balance our energy out. And it was also shown to me that many people are going to experience ascension symptoms without the spiritual awakening process. And that thereafter this, there will be an energetic renaissance on Earth, such that we have never seen or experienced before. So I hope that answers your question on ascension and Schuman resonance and solar flares. I'm going to skip ahead because I actually channeled Trump at this point, but I think he's going to get his own video because I have a number of pages on him, a great number of pages. So we're going to save him. He'll get his own video. I'm still turning the pages on Trump. All right, this is a good one. So one of the questions came up, which is, where is Jesus and is he coming back? And I think the answer that I got is wild, which is when I asked the question to my guides, I was immediately told to stop looking for someone to come and save you. No one is coming to save you. But it's not because we're screwed, because the cabal has taken over and we're all done for. But it was actually because I was told that we don't need saving. And I asked for clarification, and I was told that the cabal has actually trained us to outsource our sense of autonomy and to wait for someone else to come and do it for us. And that this has been a coordinated effort by governments across the world as well as through movies. And the way that this shows up is sit back and wait, because there's a government agency that's going to come and do this. They're going to come and, like, even look at what happened in East Palestine, right? Sit back and wait. We have the EPA coming, and they're going to check to make sure that everything's okay. And then they check to make sure that everything's okay, and they tell people, yeah, sure, you're okay, you could just move back. Understand that, first of all, that happening is a red pill for the masses to show them that even though the EPA said, yeah, sure, it's safe, go, you can move back, what are the inhabitants of East Palestine experiencing? They're sick. They're getting headaches. They're coughing up blood. Their bodies are communicating to them that they are in fact not okay. And this is going to be a red pill for the masses, even if it's a retroactive red pill, where they're not catching it right now, but they're going to be able to look back in the future and they're going to be like, oh, that was to show us to stop trusting an outside source or an outside government agency to tell us if we're okay. We can trust our own bodies to tell us if we're okay. We're experiencing these symptoms that are not okay. So that is how it is done through the government. Just sit back and wait. We'll come and tell you if everything's okay, as a way to deny our own autonomy. And this has been done through movies, because we have been shown to sit back and wait, and a superhero is going to come and save the world from us dopey, unassuming, and powerless mortals. So we have been trained to be helpless. Either the government is going to come and tell us if it's okay, or we've been told by society and through movies, we're just these helpless humans. We need like a Superman. He can come and save us. In reality, so why has this all been done? And why do we not need saving? Because in reality, we are more powerful than we can know or can even imagine. So by telling us, by my guides telling me, no one is coming to save you, it's not because we're screwed and the cabal's got us and Agenda 2030 is an impossible reality to deny, but it's because we don't need saving. We have everything we need because we have ourselves. So I was told that this is to encourage us to stop outsourcing our power and to stop looking without and to start looking within. And you want to know where Christ is and when he's coming? To start embracing our own inner Christ consciousness. So I hope that answers your question. And if not, comment down below. Now, in a similar vein, was a question about how to connect to our guides and to find out our true meaning and purpose in the world. Okay, so what was shown to me as soon as I asked this question, or not shown to me, what was actually told to me, is my guides through, like, imagine I was playing, what's that game? Volleyball? I volleyed the ball over to my guides with this question. They volleyed it right back to me with the following question, or with the following phrase. Asking how we can connect to our higher self and our guardian angels implies that we are separate from them. In reality, we are always with them and them with us. So there is nothing we need to do to connect with them. In actuality, it is more about surrendering so that we can hear them, feel them, and acknowledge the oneness that we already are with them. Similarly, the process of discovering what we can do to discover why we came here and what our purpose is was shown to me as being much the same. That we actually just have to unlearn all of the social conditioning that has been piled upon us and that has shaped our belief system. What we came here to do is as natural as us breathing. So there is no need for effort or exertion to discover what you came here to do. I was also told that we make things so much harder than they have to be with all of our effort, and that if we could just relax a little more, things will more easily flow to us, okay? That was the message from my guides. But I was like, that's beautiful, thank you, I love that. And I do love it. But if somebody wants some practical things that they can do, right? What are some practical things that we can do? And this is what was shown to me. First, communicate with your guides. Seriously, talk to them. And let them know that you want to connect with them. Because sure, even though they can read our minds, look at them like they're nice, energetic vampires. A vampire can't come into your house if you don't let them in, right? You have to invite them in. It's the same thing with your guides and your guardian angels. You gotta invite them in. You gotta say, I wanna connect to you, I wanna commune with you, I wanna conversate with you. So let them in. Let them know that you are inviting them in, and then decide what kind of relationship do you want to have with them. Do you want to see them? Are you ready to see them? Are you really ready to see them? Do you want to hear from them? Do you want to receive guidance from them? And then will you even trust what you receive from them when you hear from them? Ask yourself these questions. Or will you dismiss them? Because look at it this way, because they're always with us. How many times has guidance come to us and we dismissed it? Or we said, no, I'm not listening to that instinct that I have, or that, I don't know, the hair on my neck is feeling, it's like standing up when I'm around this person. Maybe they're not good for me. I'm sure I'm reading too much into it. Don't judge a book by its cover. I'm sure it's gonna be okay. How many times have we been in these experiences where we dismissed what our guides were bringing to us? Now, what was also shown to me regarding our calling is, what are you naturally good at? What are your talent and abilities that require very little effort and that you feel a sense of ease and play with when you're involved with it? What do you enjoy doing that when you are doing it, you lose track of time? So do you like cooking, painting, writing, decorating? What lights you up? And then when you discover what lights you up, that's your calling. Because in the new world where we're all going, even if it seems like the things that light us up aren't going to make money, we're going someplace we've never been before. Maybe it's a place where money is not going to be the value system. Maybe it's a place where, like I had said at the end of the Schuman resonance and the ascension and the solar flares, we're coming into a renaissance. What does a renaissance look like? What does it look like in the past? There was an art renaissance, right? Maybe the things that light you up are dancing, and you're thinking, how am I ever going to make money dancing? It's not about the money. It's about the creative renaissance of our purposes and our callings being brought to the fore. Money is no longer the value system. It's what are your natural gifts and abilities. That's what's going to be highly regarded in the renaissance that we are all coming to. So I hope that answers your question. Any further questions, let me know down below. Another question that had been asked to me is the FDA and toxic food additives. Do they know what they are adding is toxic. Okay, this is what's shown to me. It was shown to me as a story. Here's story time with Faye and her guides. If an organization had all the money in the world and no level of accountability and no conscience towards potentially harming people and the suffering that would ensue, what would or could they potentially do? Anything. Including testing products on lab rats, actual rats in a lab, to see what happens to them. But now apply that concept to people who view us as useless eaters, because the cabal does. And imagine the level of poisoning that could or would occur through the addition of substances to food under the guise that it was being regulated, and under the guise of the FDA actually caring. So imagine the level of deception that would be perpetrated against the American people. Voila! That's the FDA and the governance of our food. But now that we know that, when you know better, we can do better, right? So a few things first and foremost that were shown to me as coming to light, and someone actually shared this on Instagram the other day. There's an account that I follow, and they shared this, and I was like, I wrote it down right away. I was like, I got to talk about this in the video. So soybeans, first of all, have been shown to negatively affect and dysregulate our body's production of oxytocin. Oxytocin is the so-called love drug that we experience, and there is a huge oxytocin release when a woman has a child, and that is why women are just in love with their children. It's because of the oxytocin release at that time. But it is through soybeans that the oxytocin is being dysregulated, and it is therefore doing what? It is turning off the oxytocin production in people. It is literally turning us, if you will, into emotionless cyborgs. That's first and foremost. Second thing that came out, vegetable oil increases our risk of cancer by 82%. Vegetable oil. Through my own research and through my own elimination of seed oils, I can actually tell you, I cannot even quantify the degree in which I feel better. I sleep better, I wake up and I'm not so tired and fatigued. Like I wake up and I feel like I'm ready to wake up. My body feels better. Everything feels less inflamed, because what do seed oils do? Cause inflammation. Now, this has not been proven. This is my own personal opinion, and I'm always candid with you guys that I will share my personal opinion. It is my personal opinion that arthritis is actually caused by seed oils, because what does seed oils do? Cause inflammation. What is arthritis? It is an inflammation of our joints. So everything that's in food under the guise of being regulated by the FDA can be potentially poisonous. So this was also actually shown to me as it is an opportunity for us, even if it's a retroactive opportunity, once we have woken up later on down the line, that people can look back at this and they can be like, I get it now, I see. This was another example for me to wake up and see, not to give my autonomy away, not to believe that because the so-called FDA says something is safe for me, I still have to read the ingredients and I still have to do the research to discover, is this in fact actually okay for me? So I hope that answers your question. Let me know down below if it does not. Another question that came up is, can people come back as pets? I think this is fascinating. Something I never would have thought to have even looked into. And it was shown to me, this is wild, they can, but only when they are in a lower vibration. But that's not to say because animals or pets are a low vibration. They're not. It's just to say that compared to the vibration of a human, animals are a lower vibration. But because of this, what am I writing here? Because of this, only a lower vibration person can choose to come back as an animal because they're more of an energetic match with it. So what was shown to me is that it's actually more likely that an animal can be one of our guides, which is why dogs can give pure, unconditional love and also just love us to death. And it's because if they are one of our guides in an animal form, they just love us for being the badasses that we are and for choosing to incarnate and to come back because it's hella hard. Okay, so a little bit shorter, but I hope that answers your question, right? Not everything that comes in is super long. All right, I was also asked about the Real Housewives and all of the shows of that nature. And what was shown to me is that all of these shows are designed to capture our consciousness and lower our vibration. And it is done through the depiction of a meaningless and vapid life. And it is a pursuit, or what they are showing us is a pursuit of complete nonsense and a fabrication of drama by so-called, quote unquote, real people who are just a different version of a paid actor. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Now, this one is actually led into me looking into somebody that was not requested, which the question is, do infants who die here, or I also took this to mean young kids, do infants or young kids who die here grow up on the other side? And what was shown to me is sometimes yes. And I actually even wrote in my notes, I can't pretend to understand how or why, but that's the way it is. And it's not always. Because some I looked into, and they do grow up on the other side, like, for example, Jean-Benet Ramsey. Others, like I think his name is Brandon Walsh, do not. And I concluded that it has to do with the way in which they left the world and their purpose here in it, which actually leads me to Brandon Walsh. And this is actually a completely heartbreaking story, very hard to look into. But again, because I was able to look into it, because that door opened so easily, because it came to me while I was looking into something else, I understood this was an invitation to come access this door, to come access this information. And because it came to me so easily, I knew that it was meant to be actually shared, and that's why I'm sharing it. Which is that Brandon Walsh, for anyone who doesn't know, was a little boy who I believe he was 4 or 6 years old at the time that he was killed, and his mom left him at a play place in a mall so she could do some, I think, holiday shopping. And he was taken from this play place, and he was killed. And I can only imagine what was done to him prior to him being killed. And what was shown to me about him is that he was a highly advanced soul that was finishing his incarnation and getting ready to cross over for good. So he's finishing all of his karmic cycles here, and he was going to be done, and his soul wasn't going to have to come back again into another body. And because of this, because he was a highly advanced soul, he volunteered to come here, and for his life, that his, not maybe necessarily his life, but his passing would be for the betterment of humanity. Because from his death came the TV show America's Most Wanted. And how many perpetrators of crimes have actually been captured because of that TV show? So it was shown to me that this is what some highly evolved souls can do. They can volunteer for positions to move or evolve society forward in some way. Now, his death also gutted and crippled the family emotionally, and his mother had to live with unbearable guilt since then because she left him in a play place, and because of that, he was abducted from it. And they don't have things like this anymore, probably because of this. But what does it mean to have like a play place in a mall? Maybe there's just like a bunch of like, maybe there's like, how do I explain it? You know how they used to have like outside of grocery stores, they had like those rides that you could feed the quarters to or something like that. So maybe they had something like that, but like on a slightly larger scale, where a bunch of kids were just all like hanging out and playing with things, and it was in a mall. So there's maybe a presumption that the kids would be safe, but I don't know the way that it worked back then, if there was someone that worked there or there was some like regulation involved with it. All I know is that she left him there so she could go do her holiday shopping, and he was taken from there. So she has had to live with the unbearable guilt since then. But what was shown to me was that this was to assist her in burning off additional future incarnations that she would actually have to have here. So this is helping her, therefore, leave her karmic loop faster as well. It's a hell of a lesson. It's a hell of a way to go. But if you want to look at it, this was done for the evolution of her soul so she can get out of here sooner. Now, what was shown to me about his dad, John Walsh, who is the man that had started America's Most Wanted, is he was shown to me as having a fighter's spirit. And this is actually specifically why Brandon was born to him and to his wife. They were an actual energetic match because of the lesson of what Brandon's death would do, and it would push humanity's consciousness further forward. Therefore, he had to be born to a John Walsh, somebody of this nature who had that fighting spirit. Because of his death, it galvanized John into action. And John was shown to me as a warrior, that in many of his previous incarnations, he actually had been a warrior. So imagine, if you will, a man on a horse, ready to charge into battle. And that he has a tremendous amount of drive and energy reserves that stem from the tragedy in his life. John Walsh does. And I was actually shown the character that Mel Gibson played in Braveheart, which is, that was a man that was galvanized to action after the murder of his wife. That was done to pull him out of hiding, if you will, with the assumption that once he was out of hiding, he would be taken down and he would be killed. But actually what happened instead was it started a revolution of sorts. Well, there went one of my crystals. So the Mel Gibson character is a man that does not lay down in the face of adversity, but in fact becomes fired up. And this is what John Walsh is on a soul level. A man that does not lay down in the face of adversity, but he is fired up because of it. And John's energy showed me that he has no plans to cross over for good anytime soon, as he feels on a soul level he is a warrior for justice. And that John Walsh, if you will, has decided, just like in all of the previous incarnations where he would be a warrior and a fighter for the justice and for good, he will continue to come back into future incarnations so he can continue to do what he believes is his soul's mission and life, soul's mission in life, which is to be a warrior for justice. Thus, Brandon was born to him, as he is just the kind of person that can transmute loss into gain for all of humanity and mankind. So that is what was shown to me for this question about young children dying if they grow up on the other side, as well as Brandon Walsh. Now, I'm also going to say, because I have a feeling this is going to come up as a question, and I'm not terribly familiar with it, but I think John Walsh's daughter has a drug problem, or had a drug problem, and John Walsh and his wife are, I think, intervening on the behalf of the children to take them from the mother so they can raise them. Now, I'm going to say, just go, if you're unsure, go back and listen to what I had just said, that John Walsh believes himself to be a warrior for justice, and that he is galvanized into action through tragedy. So if him and his wife are intervening on behalf of the children, it's because they believe that this is the right thing to do. It is not with ill intent. It is not malicious. They are not meaning to deprive the child of growing up under the mother's care, but that they believe this is for the benefit of the children. He is galvanized into action through adversity. Okay? That is my take on what is going on with him and his daughter. So I hope that answers any questions that you may have about that. Now, the next one is short. Some of them are short and sweet and directly to the point, and some are long, right? It's like a trip to Target. We don't know how long it's going to take or what we're going to get. A question was regarding Cher, and I think this is kind of fun what I got on her. So, Cher's original body has died, but she has transferred her consciousness to a new one. And her new body it doesn't reflect her actual, if you will, the actual age of who her original body would have been. She's been replaced by a younger model, simply put, right? It's like going to trade in your 1980 Chevrolet for a 2020 Chevrolet. There's no comparison. It's a younger model. It's a younger body. It has all of these great new features and upgrades. That's what she's done. And it was shown to me that she has a young spirit and a newfound energy that came with her new body. Therefore, she enjoys dating younger men. So I hope that answers your question about Cher. I was also asked about Pleiadians, which I had never looked into before. Now, for anyone who is unfamiliar with who the Pleiadians are, first of all, we don't know with complete certainty. But what we believe is that they are a group of other souls living somewhere else, and they want to help us evolve. And what was shown to me was confirming this. So they were shown to me as incredibly wise, high vibration souls, and they have nothing but love for us because they are on the outside looking in. They see the experiences that we are enduring here and how we are badasses for it, that we're in our karmic loops with all of these incarnations that we have to come back to repair in future incarnations, right? This is not like souls that choose to come here, we're just fucking badasses. So first and foremost, give yourself a fucking hug. If you're here, if you're watching this, if you're human, which I assume you are, give yourself a motherfucking hug because you are a badass. First and foremost. Okay. Second, it was shown that they're kind of like our cosmic older siblings. Now look at it this way. Imagine, if you will, there's a really, really big age difference between you and an older sibling. It's a big enough age difference where there's no sibling rivalry. It's not like a 2-year, a 3, a 5, whatever. Imagine this is like 2 separate generations, right? Your parents got married, they had a kid at 20, and then they had you at 35 or 40. 2 separate generations. So there's no sense of sibling rivalry between you and your older sibling. So the way in which the older sibling would view you, therefore, is there's no rivalry and there's nothing but wanting the best for you. And to that end, they'll do homework with you. They'll come to your soccer games, your little league games. They just want the absolute best for you. That is what the Pleiadians were shown to me as. They just want the best for humanity. They are cheering us on, and they feel a little bit, if you will, like guardian angels to Earth and her inhabitants. So I hope that answers your question about the Pleiadians and their intention with us. If not, please comment down below and let me know. Now, next question was regarding twin flames. And I will be very, very candid with you regarding twin flames. So and again, this is strictly my opinion, which I'll always state, so you know that it's my opinion. But I've always kind of had like a hard time with this idea of like a twin flame. Because to me, a twin flame is like, I'm only a half of a whole. I am incomplete without my twin flame. I don't like that. That doesn't jive with me. Because again, at so many turns, everywhere along the way, we have been outsourcing our autonomy. So it's like, oh great, here's just another way that we're outsourcing. We're a half of a whole of a soul. Fuck me. So what came in actually assuaged some of my judginess, if you will, regarding the concept of twin flames. They were shown to me as helper souls that help people along on their journey. They can be a romantic partner, but that is not always the case. And what was also shown to me is the idea of a twin flame being a romantic partner has actually been hijacked and distorted by the spiritual community. And that's probably why it never resonated with me. I was like, I call bullshit, without knowing why I called bullshit. And it was also shown to me, look at it like the energy of a close sibling working together to help us complete our goals and our tasks in any particular incarnation so that we can move on. And it was also shown to me that no, not everybody has a twin flame. I don't know why, just not everybody does, or not in every incarnation, right? But it's a helper soul. They're here to help us along so we can evolve and get onto the next stage of our soul's evolution. So I hope that answers your questions about twin flames. Now, I received a question about Kyrie Irving, and is he controlled opposition? So for anyone who is not familiar, Kyrie Irving is a professional basketball player who I believe he is one of the first ones to not get this and was therefore actually not allowed to play a great number of games because of it in the NBA. So his energy came in super strong. He wanted to set the record straight. So this is him. Kyrie Irving's energy came in and he did like a get out of here to me. It was like, get out of here. But it was because I came at him asking if he was controlled opposition. So he was saying, get the fuck out of here. I'm not controlled opposition. And he brushed off the suggestion if he was, and he was actually a bit insulted by it. And he was insulted by the idea that by him taking a stand, that it was perceived that way. He was actually like genuinely surprised. Like, really? I took a stand in something I believed in and it came off like I was controlled op? Get out of here. And what was shown to me is that he's actually highly gifted and he is claircognizant. What is claircognizant? It's the gift of clear knowing. It's the way in which we receive information that we know to be true without any of the supporting evidence to back it up. It's that inner knowing that we have. Kyrie is incredibly gifted with that sense of inner knowing. And he just knew early on that something wasn't right with this. Now, he also told me that he mostly feels bad that other people don't know and they have succumbed to the pressure. And he has thought more than once about quitting the NBA, but not just because of this. This is one part of it, but it's a couple of more components. It's also because he has now come to understand through his clear cognizance that the NBA is owned by foreign, this is his word, not mine, entities. Take with that what you will, do with that what you will. This was his word, foreign entities. And he showed to me that this includes the coaches, the players, and in fact, the entire association. But ultimately, he has stayed, and I think, this is my opinion, because he didn't show this to me, but the sense that I got was that he stayed because he is owned, so to say, right? Like, but owned doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It might just be like he's under a contract and he can't leave for a set number of years, but that he has not quit because of it. But however, I do see the potential for him to come out at a later date and time and to actually speak out about everything that he knows. It's a potential, it's not a guarantee. As I always say, timetables can, of course, change because of free will, and there's so many other components and layers that come into it, so it's only a potential future that I see. It is certainly not a guarantee. So I hope that answers your question about Kyrie Irving. We are now going to move on to, this is cool, Michelle, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name the right way, Michelle Yeoh, Y-E-U-H, Michelle Yeoh. And here's the thing, she came in information connected to the 2023 Oscars, both together. Now, what was shown to me about both her and the Oscars is as follows. Michelle has been in the industry for a long time, and therefore she knows all too well what Hollywood is all about. She's actually been offered to join the club many, many times, but she has declined. And the reason she was not blacklisted, in case you're wondering, was for diversity purposes. Now, she also understood that because she was not accepting to join the club, she was making her path harder. That she might not necessarily get the best roles or the roles that she even wanted in any way, shape, or form, but they were keeping around for her for diversity purposes. But she also knew that even though she was taking the longer route, it was a path in which she could retain her integrity. Now, I was also shown that the intention of the person while they're joining Hollywood actually comes into play. And what I mean by that is, are they coming in for the craft or are they coming in for the fame? Do they want the fame, the notoriety, the money that comes with it? Or are they genuinely jazzed up and excited about the craft of acting? Because that will actually determine how susceptible somebody is to joining the club. And it was shown to me that Michelle is there for the craft and not the fame. Therefore, she did not want to sell out to it. Now, in reference to a comment that she had made about wanting to have a seat at the table, because this was actually part of the question, what did that mean? What table does she want a seat at? And it was actually shown to me that the table that she was referencing was to be considered just an actress, not an Asian actress. Not where they're keeping her around for diversity purposes, but where she's actually able to get the roles she wants because of her merit and because she is a good actress. Not because she joined the club, not because it's for diversity purposes. She wants to just be considered an actress in her own right, not just an Asian actress. Now, what was also shown to me in regards to this year's Oscars, in particular 2023, something very notable happened. They have veered away from tradition. What have they done? This year, they no longer had the red carpet. They had a cream-colored carpet. Interesting, one could say. What do you think the significance of that is? I'm sure there's a lot of significance in there. Let's explore. First and foremost, red is there's something about the color red, and people who look into like color therapy will actually like talk about this, right? Red is a very, why do the bullfighters have a red cape? It's an agitator. It's a color of agitation. What does it also represent and symbolize? It's the color of blood. What is a component that is necessary for one that is channeling Satan? There's certain rituals that go into it. Those rituals include blood. So, the fact that the red carpet has now been changed to cream was symbolism. It is symbolic of the way that they are veering away from the traditions of Hollywood. They're no longer using the red carpet. They're no longer associated with the heavy, dense vibration of the color red. But it's not yet white. It's cream. So that is to indicate that while they are cleaning it up, the work is not yet completely done. They're on their way to being white, but they're no longer red. Now, I was also shown that it is a turning point, not just in terms of the color of the previous red carpet, now the cream carpet, but that the diversity of winners this year is notable and not accidental. So there were a number of big name celebrities that were there and that were nominated, but that did not win. But it was not because of an agenda. It's not because of inclusion and diversity. It is symbolizing a changing of the guard from the old establishment of Hollywood and the players that were there for, again, what's the intention? Are they there for the fame and the fortune, or are they there for the craft? It is symbolizing a changing of the guards from the old to the new. Just like you have a new color carpet, it's not the red, it's now the cream. The diversity of the winners this year is to symbolize the changing of the guards. And that the fact that Angela Bassett did not win and that her bad attitude was noted is also especially notable, because it's to show you, or me, or anyone who's watching it, it's to show us, is she there for the craft? Because if she was there for the craft, her not winning would not have made her so upset. Because if it's the craft, that person just brought their A game to this particular set and this particular role. But who is there for the wrong reason? Who is there for the fame and fortune? Who was shown to be notably pissed off because they didn't win the Academy Award? Because they are in the industry for the wrong reason. So that is there to illuminate for us all of these different elements and components. And again, even if it is retroactively, once more people are awake and they're going to look back at this, these are all just like little breadcrumbs for them to pick up on and for them to be like, that was interesting. I wonder what that was about. I mean, they're talking about it even now, but a lot of people may not have recognized what was going on, behind the veil. Now, in regards to the not yet white carpet, but the fact that it is cream, this was to imply a fresh start and a clean slate and a literal break from the old traditions of Hollywood that was built on, but that it is cream and not yet white to indicate that they are not totally pure yet. And that, yes, there was a few old-time people in the establishment that did win, notably Jamie Lee Curtis. But again, we're on our way, we're not there yet. So in future Academy Awards, I do believe that it's going to be very, very different than it is now. The entire industry is going to be very different than it is now. Cream carpet, not yet white. We're on the way, but we're not there yet. So I hope that answers your question about Michelle and the 2023 Oscars. Here's another question. We're getting there. We got some big notable things to still cover, but we're getting there. It's a long video, but it's good video. So a question that was asked is, are murders predetermined prior to our incarnations? And as I had actually, I kind of touched upon this in the video I had done on Ted Bundy, which was that his victims had a soul contract that was going to stand, if you will, as a lesson for all of humanity. And then also go back to what I had shared on Brandon Walsh. Now, here's the answer if you're just looking for like a simple answer. Yes, of course. Because this is considered to be a very, very large theme in someone's life. It's not just the ending of their life, it's the ending of their life by the hands of another. And all large themes are contracted prior to someone's incarnation. So while we have free will in the everyday things that we do, i.e., I got up this morning and I put on a red sweater, that was my choice this morning. I got up this morning and I decided I was going to do the AMA today, that was my choice. But what's the big lesson of the life? Maybe the big lesson of the life that I was supposed to find my voice and share these videos and everything that I was able to see behind the veil. So what sweater I'm going to wear in the video is my free choice, my free will. What I'm going to talk about is my free choice and my free will. But the fact that I'm recording the video, maybe that was one of the big arches in the evolution of my soul in this incarnation as Faye. So someone being murdered is a huge arch in that person's life. So therefore, anything of that nature is either a karmic rebalancing of some kind, or it's a very highly evolved soul agreeing to, if you will, take one for the team, so to speak, for the betterment of all of humanity. So I hope that answers your question. And if not, comment down below and let me know. Now, similarly, the next two topics are actually kind of like similarly connected, which is, how can empaths protect themselves from narcissists? And I'm going to give an answer that I believe is going to be highly unsatisfactory, but this is the answer that I got. The short answer is they can't. But there's a longer part to that, because that sounds awful. That makes it seem like we don't actually have any control over our life, right? Let me explain. The involvement with a narcissist would be one that is considered a very, very large component in that soul's incarnation. Therefore, do they really fully have control over it? No, because it would be considered a soul lesson. Okay. And as in the interview I had done with H.G. Tudor, he had said, rightfully so, that especially if you are not from a narcissistic family and you don't know what narcissism is and you don't have any previous involvement to it, the first time they come, we don't see them coming, right? And that's not accidental, because if we could see them coming, then we wouldn't get the soul lesson through the experience that we have with them. So this would be the soul's contract to this particular person who gets involved with the narcissist, again, to either work through some karmic shit, or where they have agreed to a particular experience that they want to have in life, right? Maybe we're not working through some karmic shit. Maybe it's, looking back on my previous incarnations, I've had some really, really good, romances. I've had some really, really good partnerships. I want to have the experience of what it's like to be in a really, really difficult and challenging one. So that person can take that on in any particular incarnation because they want the experience of it. Because again, Earth is where we come to have experiences we will have nowhere else. But the good news is that we really do grow from these experiences and we become more adept at recognizing them in the future. So maybe you've been involved with one narcissist, maybe you've even been involved with a couple. I'm gonna say whether you got savvy to what the jig was after the first, you're getting savvy somewhere along the line. And you're gonna be like, whether you have the title and the name for what they are, you now know who they are, what they are, and how they operate. And then from that, you will be like, got it, learn the lessons, I'm done, thank you very much, and you will be susceptible to them no longer. So I hope that answers your question. Now, interestingly enough, this one also came in right after because it's somewhat connected, which is family dynamics, as well as the abuse, if there is any abuse in it, and the are there soul contracts involved here? Now, I'm going to tell you this is absolutely a soul contract. Here's why. Again, this would be considered a very, very notable thing that's happening to a person in their life. Therefore, anything big and notable is a soul contract. Now, what was also shown to me is that not only is it a soul contract, but that all the parties that have come into this experience as a family, as a physical family, but what are they on the other side? They're considered a soul group. I'll talk about that in a minute. They have all come into this incarnation comprising a family to work through some of their karmic shit. Now, what's a soul group? A soul group is a number of souls that have had previous incarnations together, but it's not like the farmer in town that you used to buy your goat's milk from. It's a soul that is a more notable connection. It's a soul that you have had a longer period and history with. Therefore, you will sometimes incarnate into a family in any number of different variations of who you are in the family with them. So, for example, you could be in a previous incarnation, you were the mother to these two children. Maybe in a different incarnation, those two children are now not your children. One is maybe like your spouse and one is maybe like your brother. And it's all of these different variations, which again, I'm going to remind you is why we actually have a veil in place that prevents us from remembering who we had previous incarnations with and what they were to us. Because it will fuck you up if you remember who is your parents in this incarnation being like a lover in a past incarnation. That will fuck you up. We are veiled for a reason. But so it's any number of people that were notable to you in a previous incarnation. Therefore, you have the accumulation of energetic reverberations to work through. Or my new favorite way of saying that is karmic shit. And therefore, you're coming back as a soul group to work through your various creation of karmic shit. So when you are incarnating into a family, understand that is not a collection of stranger souls to one another, but a group of souls that have traveled together like a band of nomads from life to life in different configurations and are now bound together through the accumulation of karma. Now, families in general are members of the same soul group. And as you work through your karmic shit with them, you graduate from working through those particular life lessons. and therefore they will fall away in every incarnation that you have. So if you've worked through many, many lifetimes with one particular person, your karmic shit has been wiped clean, your karmic slate is wiped clean, they will now not come back in your soul group, or they will not come back in your birth family. So anyone that is in your birth family is a particular set of people that you still have some work that you have to work through. Now, sometimes what is the shit that you have to work through? This sounds awful and I'm sorry, but that can include abuse. Now, what is that all about? And it was shown to me that sometimes the member of the family that is being abused is a more highly evolved soul, and they have agreed to come in to endure this abuse, but that through the experience of enduring the abuse, they can then hold up a mirror for the other members of the family to best see themselves more clearly. And even if that means there's, let's say, 2 kids in a family, and the kids in the family, one of them is being abused and the other one isn't being abused. One is the so-called favored child, and one is the abused child. That is a way of the abused child holding up the mirror for the child that is not being abused to see themselves. Why are they not being abused? Is it because of them, or is it because of the parents in that particular incarnation? And then through the experience of being the abused child, they are holding up the mirror of the abusers to see themselves, to see the reflection in the abuse. Do you want to know who they are? You want to know who someone is? You don't listen to what they say. You watch what they do. So through the experience of the abuser seeing the reflection of themselves in the abuse that they are meting out another person, they have the opportunity to see themselves and who they are. What is their karmic shit that they have to work through? And they are presenting, therefore, the opportunity for the members that are abusing them to evolve. Sometimes they will, and sometimes they won't. But either way, once that life is done, once that incarnation is done, the member of the family that is being abused, that is holding the mirror up for them to see, move on, and they will no longer be with that soul group in any future incarnations. Look at it this way. The harder lesson they agree to take on in this particular incarnation, that allows them to burn off hardships that they may have to endure with that particular soul group in future incarnations. So it's like, God, do I really have to endure another 5 lifetimes with these people? Is there any way we can speed this all up? There is? Yes, great. I just have to agree to come in to this soul group, with this soul group, as a family member and agree to be abused, but then it wipes those other 5 incarnations out? Yes, I will take it. Hallelujah. So understand, if this is your life experience where you have come into a family where you have endured abuse, it is wiping the slate clean for future incarnations. You will not have to come back and work through karmic shit with them any longer. This is your lifetime with them and you're done. You are holding up a mirror for them. You are allowing them to see themselves more clearly and therefore presenting them the opportunity to evolve or not. Free will, as I always say, reigns supreme. That includes the free will to decide if you're going to see yourself clearly and evolve or not. So I hope that that answers your question, and if not, let me know down below. Now, there was a few things I was going to talk about in this video, but I think it's just going to run too long, so I'm not going to discuss it, which was, but pineal gland activation is a really good one. All right, let's wait till the end and let's see. Otherwise, this might be part of a different video. There was a question about tunnels underground and are there little people in them? And this is what was shown to me. It's a yes and a no. It's a yes, but not such a simple yes answer. So I was shown that, first of all, yes, there are tunnels underground, and many of them in the United States actually date back to the slavery days, and that there was a secret network of tunnels underground in which slaves were moved around. Now, I was also shown that there are a larger network of tunnels that are used as superhighways, and they're actually hidden from the general population. However, they exist for commerce purposes, and that there are people who know about them. It's just not like you and me. But they exist. They're superhighways that exist actually underground. Now, I think the question that was being phrased is, are there these little people that are underground that have actually never seen the light of day, that they've been down there for generations? So this was shown to me as no. That they're, let me just finish getting the rest of this question out, which is, are they being born underground and growing up without ever being exposed to sunlight? So this was shown to me as no. I did not see this, okay? I was shown that it's more likely there's probably holding pens while they're wanting to move people about, but that they're not holding people for generations upon generations. That I have not seen that. What was shown to me is it's more likely, in reference of this idea of underground, is it's probably lower Earth, and that people, little people, are actually being taken down there to, how can I dance around this? They are the sustenance, if you will, of the heavy, low, dense beings that live in lower Earth. And I think I had done actually a video on lower Earth, not lower Earth, but on the shape of Earth, and that there is actually a lower Earth. But the way lower Earth was shown to me is, imagine, if you will, like, you know, if you want to climb out of a submarine, you have to like climb up a hatch to get out of it. So imagine, to get in by lower Earth, there's different hatches that go to different quadrants and different sections. One of those sections could be where there's high vibration beings, but they don't know that there's other quadrants to lower Earth as well. And one of the other quadrants of lower Earth can house, if you will, some of these darker lower entities, and these little people are the sustenance of them. Okay? So I hope that I've answered your question while dancing around it in its entirety. Shit, man. There is so much information to get through. Can we do it in under 3 hours? I think we can. Let's see if we can. I'm actually going to save the longer people for the end, just to see if we have enough time. So Tom Brady was shown to me. Anytime I've tried to look into him in the past, I literally heard the word screamed at me, clone, 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 clone. So my guides would shout that at me. But what I was actually shown is he's not like a purebred clone, if you will. He's actually a clone cyborg. Wild, I know. So what is a clone cyborg? It's where they blend different elements of a clone through the person's original DNA with, as well, computer technology. And this is done with the intention of creating a so-called super soldier. However, not all soldiers are actual soldiers on the battlefield. Some of them might be warriors on the football field or on the basketball court, for example. That is what was shown to me about Tom Brady. Now, if you're curious what was going on in connection to him and Gisele, she was shown to me as a little shallow in her intentions for the relationship and the image that she perceived being built around them. She thought they were going to build some sort of an empire. Now, they were far from poor. However, things did not pan out the way she had intended them to. So this, coupled with him retiring, and then deciding that he wanted to go back, she was over it. Oh, and she knew he was like a clone hybrid. She was, Now, and another element that came up, I saw something about their finances. I'm not sure what I saw. I actually think their involvement with STX and Sam Bankman-Fried, I actually think they're potentially in the future, again, I can only speak about potential timelines, I actually see them being held accountable, and I think they know that. So it actually made more sense for them to get divorced and to separate their assets should they be held accountable in the future. Now, that's on the one hand. On the other hand, Gisele looks at herself, and the way that it came in, there's a Gwen Stefani song, and I don't remember the song, I only remember this one particular lyric. You're still a super hot female. So she felt like it's better to get out and start over while she's still that super hot female. Okay? I hope that answers your question about Tom Brady and Gisele Bundchen. Next, I was asked about River Phoenix. And very interesting for him, what happened with River is when I connected to his energy, he straight up rolled his eyes at me. True fucking story. He rolled his fucking eyes at me. And he asked me to please leave him alone. He expressed to me that he can't believe people are still fascinated by his passing all these years later. So I said, I respect that. I don't want to connect to your energy if you don't want it to be connected to. I respect that. Can I see the energy around you? And to this, he very ceremoniously and very dramatically, like an actor, he like stepped out of the way, and then he went like this to me. Like, I have stepped out of the way here. The energy around me is all yours. And what was shown to me, first I was taken back to his childhood. And it was shown to me that so this is common knowledge. It's not groundbreaking, but to reference the fact that he was actually, I'm not sure if he was born to, but he was definitely raised in his formative years in a cult. And there were things that were done to him of an impure nature that people should not do to young people, was done to him in the cult. And he was too young to comprehend it. And plus he was being over-sexualized at such a young age, it really messed with him. So his energy came in, or the way that I was reading the energy around him, because again, he didn't want to participate in it, very, very watery, very Piscean, very, very emotional. Now, because he's so emotional, that actually made him an excellent actor. But that also made him, because he was so emotional, very susceptible to drugs, because drugs is a way of numbing out from previous sexual abuse. So the drugs and the acting were actually a perfect pair for him, because what he would do is he would numb out from the drugs, and then when he had a movie role, he would get himself clean. He would clean himself up. Again, it wasn't shown to me that he was like addicted. It was more of an escape mechanism. So he would clean himself up when he had an acting role, and then he could channel the experiences that he had had and the emotions that came from it into his childhood, into the role. And then when he was done with it, he would go back to the drugs and he would numb himself out again. Now, unfortunately, if you are someone that is known as having a drug, maybe not even a drug problem, if you're known as being somebody that likes to partake in them, then that can make you potential prey for somebody that wants to pledge you in order for their success, which is exactly what happened here. Now, I'm not going to say that this is the exact person, because sometimes the way the guides bring information to me is metaphorical. But what was shown to me was either, maybe it really was him, I don't know, but Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or it was someone like Flea in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? He could have just been a representation. because that's how I'll know to, let's say, reference somebody if I don't know the actual person. But anyway, this person laced his drugs with something on the night that he overdosed and died. Now, I'll also tell you that on my way out, River, real character, he actually waved at me, like as I was walking past him, and I did like a namaste to him. He waved at me and he asked me to tell others of my kind to please leave him alone to rest in peace. That was River Phoenix. Now, this has been a question that has followed me from, I think, 2 AMAs back. And again, that door just never opened. So I'm going to open the door right now. And it was because I just mentioned Flea and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So I'm going to say now that for whoever had asked a question about the Red Hot Chili Peppers and which of them are actually clones, it was shown to me that all of them are. But here's the thing. Again, understand that they will make clones of people to keep them in line. So it's not to say that the ones that you're always seeing out and about are clones and not the real person. It's just to say that in the case of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, they all do, yes, have clones, but they may not be being utilized at any particular time. But yes, they all do have them. So I hope that answers your question about the Red Hot Chili Peppers and about River Phoenix. How much do I have to get through? Do we have time for Whitney? All right, so we spoke about Kanye. I think we can do this in under 3 hours. Yes, I think we can. All right, let me go back to Whitney. She's a couple of pages back. And then after Whitney, we just have Dolores Cannon, and Nicola Tesla. But let's go back to Whitney. Okay. Now Whitney. All right, Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston and her daughter, Bobby Kristina Brown. This is what was shown to me. So first of all, Whitney Houston's energy came in as feeling lost. She always felt lost in her life. And in a weird way, it feels like she was a reward to a loyal cabal family. That's what was shown to me. That they gifted this family this very talented child as a reward. And it was shown to me, look at it this way, like imagine if somebody works at a company for 50 years and then they retire, they're gifted like a watch, like an expensive watch. So this family has been in servitude to the cabal for many, many years, maybe even generations. So they were gifted a daughter, Whitney, that is incredibly talented. I can't even pretend to say I understand how this works. And that this was also done for other families who are in the know, would recognize this, and they would pay respect to the family. It's almost like you don't get a Whitney Houston as a child unless you're high up in the high up in the club and you've been for many generations. So therefore, the experience of having a Whitney Houston is almost symbolic to other families, so they know to pay respect to you. Now, this is also why Whitney always felt lost, because her path had been laid out in front of her, and all she had to do was walk. Her success was always guaranteed. Her success was always assured. All she had to do was put one foot in front of the other. Therefore, she was lost when she didn't have anyone there to direct her or guide her. How do I know if I'm on the right path? She needed the guidance of people to tell her, your success is guaranteed. This is the path you have to walk down. But when she didn't have anyone there to direct her, she just felt lost in her own life. Now, the way she saw herself was fragmented. So imagine, if you will, you're looking at yourself in a shattered mirror. It's a jumble. Like you might have like 3 eyes. You might have like 15 ears. You could look like a Picasso painting. So this is the way in which she saw herself. Very, very fragmented, as though she was looking at herself through a broken mirror. And that it was one that all the pieces made up a whole, but not that it was in And not that it was in any way that she could make sense of. All the pieces of the mirror are there. It's just a fucking scrambled mess. I don't even know what I'm looking at. And if the mirror, let's say it's in a frame, right? If the mirror was turned upside down and she was given the task, put this back together in the frame, she wouldn't have any clue where to start. It was just a jumbled mess. It made no sense to her. So she was essentially lost to herself, as parts of herself were underdeveloped, because she was sent down a path towards this guaranteed success. You don't have to develop other parts of yourself, just walk down this path. Everything you want is down there. Forget about that. This is what was going on with her. Now, the reason she was drawn to Bobby Brown was because he was controlling, and because she perpetually felt lost, the sense of control that he had around her was comforting. Now, Bobby thought he loved her, or he thought it was the feeling of love, but it was probably more likely the love of control that he experienced, and that she was such a bright, shining star in his world. Now, Bobby, not understanding how lost she felt and how reliant she felt on him, because she was such a bright, shining star, he always thought she was going to leave him. Again, he didn't understand there was some level of codependency between the two of them. He didn't understand that she was codependent on him, but he just understood her star power and thought she would leave him. So because he didn't understand the codependency, he always thought she would leave him. So what did he do? He brought in drugs as a way to make her, first of all, more compliant and to keep her in place through her addiction. Energetic dysfunction, y'all. Now, what was shown to me is that Whitney thoroughly enjoyed using drugs because they numbed her out and, they made the feeling that she had of being lost bearable. Now, I did, however, see there was periods of her life that seemed to be missing altogether, thus compounding the sense of lost that she already felt. And that Whitney was starting to come apart like a loose thread on a sweater being pulled. And what happens is if you continue to pull that loose thread, the sweater will come undone its entirety. That's what was happening to Whitney. Now, regarding her death, interesting. I actually did see it as connected to Bobby, even though they were no longer married. And this is what I saw. That he traded her for something that was higher or considered to have more value. And if you're wondering if they were no longer together, how could he trade her? So first and foremost, he still looked at her as if she was his. And he actually said in an interview once, she's mine. So he still saw her, even though they were not together, as his property. Property, not a person, property. Second, one can always pledge another in the industry as they understand that they assume all of the risk or the potential blowback that may come as a result of it. So he understood. I can pledge her. If it doesn't go to plan, the consequences are still all mine. And what was shown to me is that Bobby actually wanted to siphon off some of Whitney's energy, maybe some of her talent as well, and pass it along to a new up-and-comer. Now, why would he want to do that? He had some sort of a financial, not obligation. He had some sort of a potential financial windfall that he was, let's say, investing in somebody. And if this person made it, he was going to make it big financially. So he was siphoning off Whitney's energy to give it to this other person because he was going to get some sort of a financial windfall because of it. And it was also shown to me that he was looking at it like, look, Whitney had already made her millions. She wasn't getting any younger. Again, this is not someone who saw her as a person. He saw her as property. I want to trade my iPhone in for a new model. It's not a person, it's a thing. So he kind of looked at her, and this is the way the example had come in. Look at it as if there's an illustrious racehorse. The purest of the purebred. It's won I don't even know what all those racing things with horses are, but it's like, it's a prized horse. It's just a winner. And what do you do when that horse is getting older and it can't race anymore? So what you'll end up doing is you want to breed it and pass down that purebred winning history through the lineage, and then you retire it. So what happens when the horse retires? It gets to live out its life in some lovely stable. It gets all the apples it can eat, all the hay. It just doesn't race anymore. It gets to retire nicely. But in this case, retiring Whitney didn't mean she gets to live out her life on some ranch somewhere. It meant death. Now, the part of assuming all the risk and the liability, this is where it got fucking wild. That was Bobby Kristina, their daughter. So something in Bobby's estimation of the success of the woman that he had siphoned Whitney's energy off to give to, something in that estimation did not come to pass. It did not pan out. And Bobby Kristina was what's the way I'm trying to say it? She was almost like Whitney was the pledge, but what was the unintended side effect and consequence? That the person who pledges another person, if it doesn't come to pass, that was Bobby Kristina. Your estimation of the success that this up-and-comer was going to have by siphoning Whitney's energy off didn't come to pass. So, therefore, Bobby Kristina was the sacrifice. She was the unintended side effect and consequences of his making the wrong judgment call. His estimation was off. And it was actually shown to me that Bobby Kristina, being the offspring of Whitney and Bobby, and the significance of Bobby Kristina being taken out in the water, which, as I had shared in the video on, what was his name? Nick, me and names, y'all, you know me and names, Nick Carter. Just like I had shared in the signification of the way that somebody is taken out, water is a way of washing clean. It's, right? Like you're sending them to God, you're baptizing them. It's a way of indicating like your, the contract is wiped clean, so to say. Bobby Kristina, being the offspring of Whitney and Bobby, was taken out in water to symbolize that the slate was being washed clean. Because the link that connected them all and the lineage of the sacrifice being Whitney, because Bobby Kristina was the offspring of all of these three people, the connection of all of these three people, taking out the lineage of them and the signification of her being taken out in water was to send the message to Bobby, the slate is now wiped clean. You made a bad judgment call. Your estimation of this other person's success did not come to pass. However, when you pledge another person, you know that you are assuming all the responsibility should anything not go right. This is the assumption of the responsibility. It did not go to pass. So we are taking your daughter. The slate is wiped clean. You owe nothing else to the cabal any further. Now that is what was shown to me about Whitney Houston, Bobby Kristina, and Bobby Brown. I hope that answers your question. If not, comment down below. we're so close. I can see that motherfucking finish line. We're so fucking close. All right. I got two more. I got Dolores Cannon and someone I had never heard of. Someone by the name of Doreen Virtue. This actually had just come up in my video on religion and the Cabal. All right. Wild alert. This is what was shown to me for Dolores Cannon. There's my crystal I dropped earlier. All right. So, what was shown to me on Dolores Cannon is she was abducted by extraterrestrials. They showed her the future that she speaks of, or she spoke of, in all of her videos. So that was shown to her. She saw the future and the timelines that she's spoken of because she had this, if you will, firsthand knowledge of it from an outsider's perspective. Now, they also made her forget on a conscious level what had been revealed to her, but she retained it on a subconscious level. Now, why did they choose her? It was shown to me that they chose her specifically because she is very grandmotherly, and she was a perfect soul vibrational match to the extraterrestrials that had taken her, and that when she had the consciousness of being on the ship and seeing what she had seen, she was also very grandmotherly to them. She was not at all shocked to see them. She loved them as if they were her own grandchildren. And they did actually miss her terribly when they sent her back down. Now, she was also earmarked. This is the word that came in, earmarked, if you will. Almost like, look at it like an invisible tag. So imagine the kind of tags they put on cattle. So they can, I don't know, maybe they track them, or maybe they know which cattle it is. Maybe you have like 150 cows, so this is cow number 26. So she was earmarked in a way with a tag, but it was an invisible tag. And the humans that found her and became her clients could, on a soul level, see how she had been tagged. And therefore, the people that came to her with experiences of an extraterrestrial nature, they could see this tag because, let's say it was a tag that they had seen on the ship as well. So on a subconscious level, they would see this tag and they would say, she's the one we're meant to speak with. She's the one that will understand us. She'll get it. So they were able to see it, and she attracted all of these people with all of these experiences for her to there talk about it and share these things with us. This was done so as a record for future generations, us and anyone who comes thereafter, so that when we find her and her work and her lessons, they are like a beacon of light to us as we are exiting our dark night of the soul and yearning for more truth of a spiritual nature. And I'm gonna tell you honestly, someone I think had shared like a quote from Dolores Cannon, and I read this, and I was like, oh my God, she gets it. Oh my God, she gets it. It felt like finding a water hole after walking through the desert for 40 years, seeing mirage after endless mirage of water, but none of them are water, and then finding the fucking water. That's what it felt like when I first read a Dolores Cannon quote. Wow. I felt on a soul level like I had been hydrated. My thirst for spirituality and meaning had been quenched. Now, her grandmotherliness was also shown as a perfect counterbalance to the polished gurus or narcissistic spiritual leaders that we may sometimes see. There's one, I can't even remember, he has like private planes and cars and a fleet. You see him talking, he looks fucking demonic because he is fucking demonic. And he'll talk about why, I do so much traveling, I gotta have my own private plane, right? Like he's real smooth and real slick and real. And so she is actually the perfect counterbalance to all of that because she's a pared down grandma just speaking the truth and lighting the way for the rest of us. On the other side, because she has crossed over, she delights in seeing how many of us are waking up. She is incredibly proud of humanity, and she is cheering us all on. So, on even your darkest of days, Dolores Cannon is cheering you on. Keep that in mind. Now, there's this person I had never heard of by the name of Doreen Virtue, who apparently, from what I understood from you guys in your comments, which by the way, guys, I am always grateful for every single comment, because I learn so much from you guys through the comments. And first of all, understanding how my information is being received and how it's resonating, and if it's making sense, and am I sharing things to the best of my ability? Can I do better? Can I improve the delivery? Is everything that I'm saying making sense to you guys? So please, your comments, every single one is so greatly appreciated. Please continue to comment, because that is allowing me to be the best version of myself, the best conduit that I can be in the sharing of the information. And it was because of your guys' comments that apparently there's a woman that used to be in the spiritual community by the name of Doreen Virtue, and she is no longer in it. And my understanding is that she had also renounced all of her work in the spiritual community, and she has renounced all of it, and she is now a very happy practicing Christian. So what was shown to me about Doreen Virtue, or the way her energy came in is a better way of saying it. She is angry at spirituality. With an exclamation mark, she's angry at it. She feels, this is her energy, I'm not commenting as to the truth of it, this is what her energy showed me. She feels she was under the influence during her time here in the spiritual community and is glad to be out of it. She looks at it like a cult, a godless cult, whereas her life now has God and meaning. Okay, that's all her energy wanted to share with me. I wasn't going to press it. I felt like she did a pretty good job in communicating how she feels about the community and why she chose to leave it. This is her perception. We're not going to debate the merits of it. This is her energy. This is what it chose to share. Thank you, Doreen. Thank you, Dolores. I hope that answers any questions that you have, and if not, comment down below. Last but not least, I actually chose Nicola Tesla because I love the way I ended the channeling with him, and that's why I want to end with him. And I think we're going to finish in just under 3 hours. I'm super proud of us. Guys, if you are here and you have watched through the entirety, let me know down below, and then you get a piece of chocolate tonight. Please reward yourself with a piece of chocolate, ice cream, cake, anything that you want, okay? You have earned it. You guys are committed. You stuck with this video. You have seen it through. Nicola Tesla. Nicola Tesla was wicked smart. And the way his energy came into me was there was a lot of air and movement and energy around him, because that was the way his mind worked. Fast. Fast like wind. Now, it was also shown to me that he could see behind the veil on a technological scale. So imagine, if you will, he could see the way that things work. So you know those ghost watches? It's a watch that under the screen, you could see the devices and the mechanism and the turner and the spinner and the thisser and the thater. He could see behind the veil on a technological level. And when he would look at things, he could see the way they worked, as if he had X-ray vision, as if everything he looked at was a ghost watch, that he could see beyond it and see the way the mechanisms worked on the other side. He could see beyond the veil. And he saw everything like that. So he could see how to engineer things and how to make things work and how they did in fact work. Therefore, he could reverse engineer things as well. Now, this did not make him arrogant. On the contrary, what was shown to me is that he had a wicked sense of humor, but he mostly chose not to share his observations. However, he saw everything. He also was very, very mischievous. Guy had a really wicked sense of humor, really, really mischievous. I actually loved his energy. He also shared with me that we're only now starting to crack the code. Those were his words, crack the code, on his discoveries, but a lot of it will continue to not make sense for many years to come. He also acknowledged that his stuff was stolen, but to that end, he also shared with me that he acknowledges his part in it and that he was too attached to his intellectual property and his intellectual discoveries. And he believed at that time that it belonged to him. Again, but not from an arrogance. He says that he was also trapped in the matrix as well. And he believed that if he thought it was because it was his, not understanding that he was a conduit in which the information would come through him, but was not of him. So this is a man who gets it. He fucking gets it. He also says that his low vibration surrounding ownership of the material made him an energetic match for other low, dense, vibratory people who were looking to take ownership over his property. And because they were low, heavy, dense, vibratory people, what was their intention? It was not just to take ownership of it, but it was to deny us of all the true value and power in it. Now, he also had a message for me. He wanted to caution us over our 3D attachments and remind us that while we are in fact earthbound, and while we are here to have, experiences we can't have anywhere else, that's not the point of us coming here. The point of us coming here is not the accumulation of stuff and things. The purpose in our coming here is to learn and have experiences we will not have anywhere else. He also says to lighten up and relax, and that it's all temporary anyway. And he wanted to let me know that he's having a blast time traveling, which, by the way, also leads me to believe that, this is my opinion, not shown to me, I actually believe that he found a way to jump through time, and he is time traveling, because this is what he said. He's having a blast time traveling. But that, I gotta wrap this up because it's getting hella late. He's having a blast time traveling, and that having a lighter, energetic body is great for it. And he also wanted to finish by saying, enjoy our upgrades because they are coming for us too. I loved that message, and that's why I wanted to end on him, because what a great message for all of humanity. Enjoy the upgrades because they're coming. So as always, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this long video. You earned whatever treat you want to take, a hot, luxurious bath, a treat, whatever. You earned it, so go for it. If you watched all the way through and you made it till the end, please let me know that you have. As always, take what resonates, leave the rest behind, and I hope that I have brought you content that is interesting or different or thought-provoking. Last but not least, until next time, stay in the high vibration. Bye, guys.